for joining us today. This is fun. It's Living Room Leadership. Our live stream today is how to write a sermon. Sermon sounds so formal. Modern day church, you just call it a message. Something like that. It's 3 o'clock, so we're going to get kicked off. I'm going to wait for our first guest, and we're going to give that first guest a prize. They don't even know they're going to get a prize. But thank you for tuning in. I'm not going to have this video on I'm not going to save it, basically. But I am going to keep it up here for a little bit. So here we go. When you log on, let me know if you can hear well. I want to make sure my levels are right. Living Room Leadership. Leadership principles for your everyday leader. That's you, that's me. We're going to get kicked off here. I got some books with me. Let me just show you what I'm working with for you. Let's just go through this right here. This will be fun. Let me see if I type in here. I can add comments and everything. Yep, I can. There we go. So I don't use all of these, but I just figured it'd be funny to put on here. This one, there. It's like old. I got this from my grandfather's library. It's like from 1961, and it was reprinted in 1988. That's great. But this is just a New Testament Bible, and it's heavy and it smells. And then this one, I don't know why I have this out. This is just on the book of Joshua. This is super old too. World Biblical Commentary, again from my grandfather's library. This one's from 1983. I could probably save these and sell them like antiques. Uh-oh, my song just ended. Let's keep it going. I wonder if I can loop it. This is this is a newer Bible. It's a single column journaling Bible. So if you like to write in yours, this works out. I just didn't like it too much because the text, the columns are small, so you can see that. But again, it's more if you're into note taking. That's just not my thing. What's under here? We've got this one. Oops. This one is the World Studies in the Greek New Testament, Volume 1. Again, from my grandfather's library. Most of my books are from his library because he had so many books. So when you log on, go ahead and jump in the chat. Tell me where you bought how old you were when you bought your first Bible. Like you actually went out and bought it. Not somebody gave it to you, but you bought it. And then we'll jump in here. I'm going to show you guys exactly what I do to prepare to speak, the tips and the tricks and the inside sneak peek of all of it. And then hopefully you guys can learn or use some of it wherever you are, whether you speak or you're just leading a Bible study, really for any kind of public speaking situation. So we're going to get started here shortly. I'm going to wait till 3:07 3:07, and then we'll get started. This is it. Living Room Leadership. We're about to write today's sermon. Or not today's sermon. The message for May 24th. We're going to write it here with you all. And then you'll be able to see some of your content that you came up with on May 24th. All right. Here we go. We are 54 seconds away from kicking off. Once you log on, oh, look, it's my wife. There she is. Woohoo! Where'd the music go? Oh, here it is. 20 seconds away from starting. Look, she's right here. Or this way. No, this way. Right there. All right, here we go. We're going to get kicked off. Living Room Leadership, how to write a sermon. I had a couple of people ask me, how do you guys even come up with the stuff that you say? And I thought it was really funny because it's all from the Bible, the same book that you read. And so writing a message or a sermon is, it takes more time than I think people realize. It's a lot of time to make sure that we are taking out what the Bible has in it and not putting in what we want the Bible to have. And so it's very important that we study the Bible in the way that we're supposed to. There's Jeremy. What's up, Jeremy? So let's get kicked off. The first thing is Colossians 1:24-29. That's the text that we're going over. It's the message for May 24th. Not this upcoming Sunday, but next Sunday. And so when you're writing your content for your message, the first thing you have to do, absolute first thing, is to know it. You've got to know your content. You got to know your content better than anyone else. And so what I mean by this is you don't just want to know a topic. You want to know the context. You don't want to just know one verse that you're reading. You want to know the entire chapter. You want to know the entire book. You want to know what happens, how this story fits into God's bigger picture and God's bigger plan. And so I'm going to go over 3 things under this idea of know it, so that you can kind of follow along. So the way I study the Bible and the way that I lead all of my Bible studies, the way that I teach people to study the Bible, 3 things. It's on the surface, beneath the surface, beyond the surface. And no, I didn't come up with it. I didn't create it. I got it from someone else. And so I've been using it ever since. And so here's what that looks like. To know it on the surface is to read that text or that chapter like you would read any other storybook. And so let's just pull up Colossians chapter 1 right here. I'm going to go, this is the Message version. I'm going to go to the ESV. There it is. So that's Colossians 1:24-29. Right. So this is Paul. He's speaking to the church there. It's not a church that he created or he founded like the church of Philippi. It's just a church that already existed. And so he's speaking to them. And so when we say on the surface, what we're saying is we're just going to read this text like a story. Like, we're not going to think anything of it or try to put our thoughts into it or ask any questions. We're just going to read the story. And so here's the funny thing about Christians. Oftentimes we have difficulty just reading the story. Like, we always want to put our thoughts into it. We always want to pull something out, even if it's not really there to be pulled out. We still want to pull something out. We want to interpret it. We want to study it in the Greek and the Hebrew, and we want to do all of these other things. But sometimes we just need to step back and just read it as a story. It's the same way that I would read a book to my kids. I'm going to read it word for word, and I'm going to take it at face value, and I'm not going to try to interpret their book for them or pull out some deeper meaning because it sounds great. I'm just going to read the story. And so the first thing that I do always is I read the story. I know it on the surface. And so what I'll do here is I'll read this text, verses 24 through 29. This is what we're going to be speaking on next Sunday. And I'll just read that, but I'll read it in a couple of different translations. So I'm going to switch over from this Bible Gateway. I'm going to switch over to my Google Doc that I'm working in. This is what I do. Colossians 1:24 to 29. I copy and paste that text in these different translations. And I just read it. I just know the text on the surface. That's right, Jeremy. Know it. You got to know it. And so when you know it on the surface, you also want to look at not just that text, but you also want to look at the entire chapter, right? And so we want to know what's happening in the entirety of chapter 1. And really, we want to look at an overview of the book of Colossians to know what we're talking about. After you go on the surface, we go beneath the surface. And this is where we ask questions. This is where we start interpreting things. This is where we start bringing in commentary. And commentary is a great resource and a great tool. I'm going to show you my favorite commentary. Here it is, right here. Boom. So it's Zondervan's Exegetical Commentary of the New Testament. And so that's what I like to study in. That's the commentary that I use. And what it does is, I'm just going to give you a quick look at this really quick. You can see all the verses that it's going over. But here's what I love about it. It gives you the literary context. It gives you the main idea. It gives you the translation of the text. It gives you the structure. And then it gives you the exegetical outline. And this is what I love. It shows you the explanation of the text. And it breaks down each verse. And so even here, just the phrasing, now I rejoice in my sufferings for your sake. Can you believe that there's actually all this commentary just for that one part? Like, that's crazy to me. And so it's always good to bring in commentaries. I know some guys use different commentaries. This is the one that I found is the best for me. Another source that a lot of people use is this, Blue Letter Bible. You can type in your, not First Colossians, Colossians 1. And then we'll just go ESV. This is Blue Letter Bible. And then it breaks down each verse, and it gives you this little section right here, tools. And then it gives you like the Greek, each phrase, each word that's translated in Greek or Hebrew, whichever, if you're in the Old Testament or the New Testament. It gives you cross-references. It gives you some commentaries that you can look at. It gives you a dictionary so that you can look up words. So this is another great tool that you can use when you're studying and when you're just looking at things on the surface or beneath the surface. The last one is beyond the surface. So we take everything that we learned on the surface and beneath the surface, and then we ask ourselves this question: how does this story and this text and everything that's in it, how does it apply to God's bigger picture of salvation and eternity? And that's a great question to ask because it brings in this applicable concept or principle of the text. And so how does this text even matter? It was written thousands of years ago. How does this text even matter today? And how does it matter to my future? And so those are three easy things that you can pick up from today, from the first part of Know It, is reading the Bible on the surface, beneath the surface, and beyond the surface. We got George here. He says his first Bible he bought was in his teens. Doesn't remember the age. That's terrible. Man, you got to know this stuff. I'm just kidding. The first Bible I ever bought, here, I'll show you guys, was my 17th birthday. It was my 17th birthday. I had just said yes to Jesus. My mom asked me what I want for my birthday. And I told her a Bible. And I didn't know, like, how do you know what Bible to even pick? Like, there's millions of Bibles out, and they're big, they're small, they're colorful, they have lines, some have tabs. Like, dude, it's so confusing. So this is the Bible that I picked. It was the biggest Bible I could find. Oh, that's duct tape. It's the NIV Study Bible. And this is a sticker. I don't know where I got it. I don't know why I taped it on. But this was my first Bible that I bought. And it's a study Bible. It has commentary, just like the commentary we just looked at. So this was my first one. I still have it. This is my current Bible that I use. It's the Crossway. It's the English Standard Version Thin Line, 80th Anniversary Edition. I'm serious. And the paper, I like it because it's kind of flimsy. And then I like it because it lays flat. So, no, I don't have any King James Version Bibles. Sorry. Shout out to Jeremy, who just recapped everything that we went over. Woo! Give it up for Jeremy. Yay! You're the man, Jeremy. Thank you so much. All right, that was the first one, was Know It. The second one is Show It. You see this little rhyme that we're doing? So you got to know the text, and then you've got to show the text. I was always told in school, Austin, show what you know. Show what you know, show what you know, show what you know. And so I'm going to show you guys one outline that you can follow that's very helpful. Here we go. I'm just going to type it on my Word doc and then show you guys on this screen here. It's called One Point Preaching, made popular by Andy Stanley. This was the first outline that I learned, that I got from my pastor. The first way that I learned how to really communicate the gospel. And it was simple because all you're focusing on is one point. That's why it's called One Point Preaching. That was pretty cool, huh? All right, anyway, here we go. So the I would be, how does this text, as the speaker, so like, how does this text affect me or challenge me, or what does it mean to me? And then as you're speaking to your church, it's how could this text affect you? Right. So let's just think of something like John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him would not perish but have eternal life. And so when I get up there and I prepare, the I is, how does John 3:16 affect me? And so I'll talk about it. It's kind of I want to talk about the tension. And I'll probably talk about maybe feeling left out, like I wasn't included in something. I'll probably talk about how maybe you remember times where at recess they're picking teams and they didn't pick you and it made you feel left out. Or even at home when everyone in your family is super musically inclined and you're the only one who can't sing on key and you felt left out. And then I would go to this text. The third section there is God. All right, what does God say about this? Well, God says that he sent his son Jesus to die for whosoever believes in him, which is all inclusive. And so we're creating tension in the beginning of the text by saying, hey, there's some times where we feel lonely and we feel isolated and left out. And there's times where you even feel left out and you feel all alone. But what does God say about this? God says that he sent his son to die for everyone. Like, he doesn't play favorites. Every single child of his is his favorite. And then So this is what does God say? And then we go to you. So now I'm talking back to the congregation. Based on what God says about this, how could this affect your life? Like, what does this mean for you? Well, it means that those times you felt left out, you were never alone, that God was always there, that God sent his son Jesus specifically to die on behalf of you, that he cares about you that much, right? And so we really get into that. How does this text apply to you? And then after we go to you, then we go to we. That means the person speaking and the congregation. All right, based on what God said about this and based on what is in John 3:16, what does this mean for all of us? What can we do? Like, how can we affect change? And so it's really easy. 1 point preaching, I, you, God, you, we. You can use that for any text and really be able to dig in and to dive deep and to pull out what God is saying to you through the text. Hopefully you guys were able to catch that. 1 point preaching, Andy Stanley. You can look it up on Google. You'll find a ton of posts and blogs about it. So we went through know it, we went through show it, and the last one is, I had to make it rhyme. Okay, look, it probably doesn't make sense, but to flow it. Oh, that was good, huh? Yay! Let's celebrate more. Woo! All right, here we go. Anyhow, that's so funny. So I think after you know the text, and then after you're able to create your outline, then you've got to rehearse. And that's what I meant to flow it. You've got to rehearse. I don't think people realize how much time, how much time people spend preparing to speak and preparing to preach. It takes a lot of time. It's definitely a skill in learning how to communicate things, but there's a couple of things that I kind of key in on for flow it is you've got to just be you. Like, you've got to be yourself. I know that I'm not like Stephen Furtick. There we go. Jeremy put it up. Know it, show it, flow it. Let's go. Who's this? Oh, Ryan. I thought I had to be a rapper to preach for a second. That's good. Too funny. But you got to flow it, right? And so here's what I do. To rehearse my content, early on, I would go word for word. I would literally write down every word that I was going to say. I would do an asterisk and cue in where I was going to make a joke or where I was going to tell a story or where I was going to laugh. And that's really good for early on. I think the one thing that I learned from it was there's a natural cadence and flow to the way that people speak. And so I had to work on my craft and learn my cadence and my tempo. One of those things is, like, you'll see me, if you've ever seen me speak, is I'll speak really fast and for an extended period of time, and then I'll stop because it grabs people's attention, right? Another thing is voice fluctuation. And so I get really excited and I'm going in on something, and then I get to a point where it's kind of serious and I pause and I wait. And I find moments of silence where I can pose a question that would cause you to really consider, what kind of life is God calling you to live? And so there's all these things that you can practice. Another one is, what's another? Oh, I don't practice word for word. I just practice transitions. And so my outlines have changed drastically. I've got about 5 minutes left with you guys, so I'm going to fly through this. What's up, Ryan? Hold on, let me give a shout out to my guy right here. Yes, come on, my man. If you haven't checked his content out, go look him up on YouTube. Go look him up on Instagram. He has some great content out there. Yesterday was so fun to be on his live stream. He's live streaming with people from Florida all the way across the country. I love it, man. It's Blaze Ministry 707. Come on, Luke 12:49. I've been listening. I've been watching you. And so back to what I was saying was, I don't rehearse all of my lines word for word. I rehearse my transitions, because that's where you can lose people. You lose people in the in-betweens is what I call it. And so what I would say is, know your content, but know how you're going to get from one point to the next. Like, that's the biggest thing. Know how you're going to make a bridge from point to point, and know how you're going to bring people along in a journey, because that's what it is. We're journeying through the text, and we're journeying through how the text applies to them. And so you got to know it, you've got to show it, and you've got to flow it. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. And the more you rehearse, the better you get. Here's some other tips. Record yourself. Record yourself. Video record yourself and then watch it. It's super awkward, but it's probably good practice for you. Here's another tip. Have your main points that you really want to go in on, have them in your mind like all week, all day. Practice those transitions in your head as you're going grocery shopping. Practice those transitions when you're about to go to sleep. Practice the transitions when you wake up. And the more you hear yourself say it, the more you'll be able to craft it in a way that'll help bring people along, and you won't lose momentum. But you got to rehearse, you got to rehearse, you've got to rehearse. You've got to flow it. Oh man, there's so much more that we could talk about. So much more that I can share, but I told you it's only going to be 30 minutes today. And so what I've already done with Colossians 1:24 through 29 is I know my text. I don't have the outline written down yet, but I have it in my head. I kind of know where I'm going with it. And so after that, I'll flow it, I'll rehearse. But here's what I want to do. This is a question that I want to ask to everyone who's tuning in on this live stream for the last couple of minutes that we have, is based on Colossians 1:24 through 29, where Paul talks about the suffering that he's experienced. And then he says in verse 29, this is my favorite verse, "For this I toil." For this I toil. This is the reason why I go through suffering. For this I toil. Here's the thing. Paul knew why he was doing what he was doing, the way he was doing it. Paul knew his why, and he knew his philosophy. He said, all of the suffering I'm enduring is for this. It's for the gospel. Why don't you comment in the chat right there? What is the reason you toil? Why are you doing what you're doing the way that you're doing it? What is your purpose? What is your philosophy? And what is your why? Go ahead and comment in the chat. I'm going to hit us up with some of that good music. And then when you drop your answer, we're going to throw it up really quick. And we're going to talk about it. Come on, bro. We're going to live stream very soon. I'm excited for it, man. I know you got some good stuff coming up on your live stream. I want to be a part of what you're doing. Again, we're asking the question, just like Paul said, for this I toil. Why do you toil? What's your reason? Come on, man. Salvation. Ryan said salvation. That's right. Oh, we got George. His why is to use his gifts to further the gospel. That's right. I love it. I always tell people, like, if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, why do you even do it? Like, why do you even, if it's a church thing, why do you even show up to church? Why do you even pray? If you run a business, why do you wake up every day and just hustle and grind? Like, if you're parenting, why do you get up in the middle of the night and care for your kids in that moment? You've got to know why you do what you do the way you do it. Write that down. Know why you do what you do the way you do it. I've got 30 seconds left, so we're going to take a page out of my guy Ryan's playbook he did yesterday, and I was a part of it, and I thought how powerful it was to do this, to be able to do this online. We're going to bring in that keyboard. Come on, Ryan, man. I've been watching you, bro. I'm learning. And we're going to end this with prayer, that God would show us why we do what we do the way we do it, that it would become real to us. There's Will Laffey. What's up? Come on. You jumped right in for prayer. So if you're on this live stream, whether I know you or not, I'm going to pray that God would reveal your why to you, that you would become passionate about it, and that you would be encouraged to use the gifts that he's given you to carry out his vision for your life. Let's pray. Father, would you come? Would you speak to us? Would you show us and reveal to us our why, our philosophy, why we do what we do the way we do it? And would you encourage us and give us courage to use the gifts that you've given us to glorify you and to accomplish whatever it is, whatever the vision of the plan is you have for our lives and for the church at large. And we pray for all these people who are tuning in. Hopefully they learned something that they can use. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. I want to thank you guys for jumping in. This was obviously my first time doing this, so it was fun. Look, I even have noises that I can make. Watch this. Oh, that's so annoying. Anyway, tomorrow night, we post every Friday at 9 o'clock, so check it out. We have some content coming up. I think we're going to do a Thursday at 3 every week, a live stream where we tackle one of these questions. And then we're going to put out, I think it's 6 videos. So a 6-part series that shows you more in depth of what we do, like way more in depth to my sermon prep. We have some really fun content that I think you would enjoy. All right, y'all, I kept you long enough. I'm 2 minutes over, so we got to end it. Shout out to everyone who tuned in. If you can, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and share it with your friends.